has been graciously sponsored by the Misri, Sheloah, Sutton, and Yedid families, Le'ilui Nishmat, Halfon ben Victoria, Alav Shalom. Iratzon that to the words of Torah and the Berachot that the Kahal will recite, will create an Aliyat Neshama to Halfon ben Victoria, Alav Shalom. Today, as we mentioned yesterday, we are going to be discussing further the topic that we began with yesterday's Gemara, the topic of Shalom Alechem, and the topic of hot drinks during Motzae Shabbat, the way we started to learn. Let me say a beracha first. I have an issue in front of me. Two wonderful people prepared tea for me. So I don't know which beracha to say upon which cup. If I say on one, the other one will not be happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix them like they do for Shema Berachot. They mix the wine for the Hatan and the Kala, and this way everybody's going to be happy. Baruch Ata Adonai Elohenu Melech HaOlam She'akol Nihiya Bidbaro. Wonderful. So before we go to discuss Motzae Shabbat, hot drinks, and Melaveh Malka, I got the printout that I needed to get from the Ben Ish Hai. And allow me to read what the Ben Ish Hai says. It says as follows: when the Shabbat arrives, the house of every Jew must be ready to welcome the bride, known as the Shabbat HaMalka, the Queen Shabbat. The way the Gemara mentioned, the Malachim come into the home and they check a couple of things. And the language he brings down is basically the candles are lit, the table is set up, and the bedroom is organized. Upon this, the Malachim come and they bless the person. And it says that the blessing is activated by the presence of these three elements: the candle, the table, and the bedroom. What it means, the bedroom, it means the home, so to speak, that is set up in honor of Shabbat. So far, we know. And it says, a person who really wants to become a recipient of these three berachot should make sure to check in for these three particular matters. Now it says, what is the benefit of this berachot besides the blessing? And now it comes, and it says, Malachei Shalom, Shalom Alechem, Malachei Sharet, Malachei Elyon. That is the first opening statement. The second one says, Boachem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom. Why do we switch from the first paragraph was Sharet, and the second paragraph is Shalom? So the word Sharet means like to serve, like the servants of Hashem. Okay, but the second one is called the angels of peace. So what, is there angels of war? The answer is yes. There are angels that deal with wars. But look what the Ben Ish Hai says. It says that the fact that there is peace between these two angels, because these two angels don't see eye to eye. One looks for the positive, the other one looks for the negative. Correct? That's what the Gemara said yesterday. But it says there are three matters which become activated, or rather, the protection for these matters: kin'ah, vesin'ah, betahrut. Envy, jealousy, and competition. These are three detrimental matters that affects the person's life. If somebody has envy of us, or if God forbid somebody hates us, or somebody wants to compete with us, that action is not beneficial to the person. It's not beneficial to the person that is done against, and it's not beneficial for the person themselves, especially for the person themselves. Very good. And it says further, the Ben Ish Hai, Now, Malachi Alyon, the third message mentioned on this is Malachi Sharet was the first one. The second one, Malachi Shalom, peace between them. The third one is called Malachi Alyon, the heavenly angels. Now, I ask you a question. The angels are heavenly or earthlings? Heavenly. They are not Malachim created from the earth. We are created. Malachim are all spiritual. So it says the Ben Ish Hai as follows, that they are those Malachim which are, so to speak, dwelling around the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Malachim of negativity and darkness, they don't gravitate to the holiness of Hashem. They are kept on distance, Guantanamo Bay. Can you relate to that? Who lived in Guantanamo Bay for a long time? Terrorists. Now that they're sending illegal aliens, I think, is a new thing. But for years, since 9/11, many terrorists were kept far. Hamabdil, I'm using this common example so we can relate. And it says that all these three matters are being checked so the presence becomes a blessing and not a complaint. The complaint is, how come that you know that we are coming and you were not ready for us? It's like your mother is coming to visit you at home, or your grandchildren come to visit you at home and you're not ready. They're letting you know, I'm coming to visit you. Friday night, Shabbat night, I'm going to be in your home. So how come you're not prepared? It goes further and it says, Barchuni le shalom. When you leave, bless me. The way that we discussed in the past, Yitzhak Avinu bless Yaakov. Look in the parasha that after the fiasco with Esav, Yaakov Avinu came to Yitzhak to get a beracha before he leaves. It happens many times. Parents go to the Mehillah, children go to the parents, or students come to the rabbi. It happens here often. People tell me, Rabbi, I'm leaving. So I give him a beracha. Nesiya tova, lech leshalom, tahzor leshalom, yahid berabim, alakha kerabim. And it says, bless me. So when you leave, you give a positive report to HaKadosh Baruch Hu about my home. That's why we say these verses. In other words, every one of them has a particular reason why we say it. And the reason why we say 3 times, because by having the peace among the angels, we are protected from 3 things: kin'ah, envy, jealousy, and competition. Guess what? On these 3 items, we all need protection, including the speaker. I'm a target. You need to know this. I am a target. You know whether you want to know the reason why? Because my name is Yosef. And Yosef's name attracts envy, kin'ah. That's what's written in the holy books. On true. That's what's written in the Motzae Shabbat and others. Also, I'm in the eye of the public. A big rabbi told me this. Of course, but some has more than others. Now, with that being said, let's go back to the Gemara. I have it here. Let's open up the Gemara very quickly. But I'm okay. I'm not, I don't have a trauma because my name is Yosef. I'm very happy. Sure. What do you think? I'm good looking? For Yosef Hasadik, he was a good looking fellow. You see my ties, my haircut, my suit. Nice. Looks good. Thank you, Rohi. Thank you. All right. I'll sign you. I give you a picture with my autograph later. Next, the Gemara. Listen to this. Le'olam Gemara goes further. Now we're going to talk about food. לעולם יהא אדם מסדר שולחנו בערב שבת, אף על פי שאינו רעב אלא לכזית. It says, forever set up the Shabbat table in honor of the Saudah of Shabbat, even you're going to eat something symbolic. In other words, symbolic. You're going to eat לכבוד Shabbat Kodesh, לשם שמיים, even though, nevertheless, there is a concept of Saudat Shabbat. Just one moment. Further, there is no footnote in here, but the Marsha says, I don't understand. How come on a Shabbat night you gonna eat only an ounce of bread? Why are you gonna eat only an ounce of bread? Because that is the language of the Talmud. It says even though that the person needs only 1 ounce. So if you need only 1 ounce to eat symbolically, it means that you ate before Shabbat. So comes the Marsha and it says a very interesting question. And since when you are allowed to eat before Shabbat? It's a heavy duty question. It's a heavy duty question. In other words, yes, I heard of the Matzah party in the summers. Halachically is a question. Speak to your local rabbi. It's a halachic question if you're allowed to do it. Why? Short answer, because if a person is going to eat a lot before Shabbat starts, by the time Shabbat comes, you're not going to be able to eat. Okay, and the alcohol that sometimes goes around, and the environment that sometimes this is made. So I don't want to talk into something that is a topic, but that's a question of the Maharsha. He says, since when you're allowed to eat on Erev Shabbat? To'ameha was allowed. The sampling, the way we learned a week ago, just to sample the food in honor of Shabbat. And that's what the Shulchan Aruch says. It says, אין לאדם לאכול סעודה בערב שבת, שתשביע אותו עד שאינו מתהווה לאכול מסעודת שבת. The Maram Bet Yosef says that on a Friday afternoon, you're not allowed to sit down and have a meal heavy enough that you will not be able to eat Shabbat dinner. In other words, if you have an option in front of you to eat a lot Friday afternoon and barely eat on Shabbat night, don't eat Friday afternoon. If you're telling me you're eating noontime, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, maybe. But if you're going to start eating at 4 or 5 o'clock, and then you do early Shabbat on top of that, you're going to eat at 6:30, how are you going to be able to enjoy the Saudah of Shabbat? Very, very powerful and direct statement from the Gemara. Although there are two opinions in the Halakha, ideal opinion is to eat kabetza of bread, 2 ounces of bread. Why 2 ounces instead of 1? Short answer. Because when you eat 1 ounce of bread only, the protocol is as follows. You wash your hands for the bread. You do not say the beracha on the washing. You say the beracha of hamotzi. You say, you do may maharonim. You do full birkat hamazon. If you eat kabetza, which is 2 ounces of bread, which is the second opinion in the halakha, you wash with beracha, hamosi, may maharonim, full birkat hamazon. So you have to ask yourself, are you going to eat 1 ounce of bread, or are you going to eat 2 ounces? If you're going to eat only 1 ounce, for the sake of the mitzvah, you wash without netilat yadayim beracha. If you know that you're going to eat 2 ounces or more, in that case, you will say a beracha. Comes the beracha, the Gemara, and it says the same statement that we mentioned about Shabbat dinner. The Gemara clones the statement for Motzae Shabbat. What was the statement for Friday afternoon? I read it again. Le'olam, forever. יסדר אדם שולחנו בערב אף על פי שאינו צריך אלא לכזית. That was Friday afternoon statement. מוצאי שבת, listen, אמר רבי חנינא לעולם יסדר אדם שולחנו במוצאי שבת אף על פי שאינו צריך אלא לכזית. So what was the difference between statement number 1 and statement number 2? Motzae Shabbat. First statement is Shabbat dinner. Second statement is Motzae Shabbat. And it says the same way that there is a concept of welcoming the Shabbat with wine, with food, with a Seudah, there is a concept of escorting the Shabbat with wine through Avdalah and a Seudah. Now, allow me to read quickly a very interesting footnote, the following. So it says, what does it mean to honor the Shabbat, Motzae Shabbat? Listen to this. Mapa bekelim re'im kanaui ונהגו לומר פיוטים כדרך שמלווים את המלך ומדליקים נרות. So Rashi says, and he quotes the Or HaHaim and others, and it says, the footnote quotes the Or HaHaim and the Mishnah Berurah, and it says, so how should be my Motzae Shabbat protocol? So it says, number 1, mapa. Make sure the table has tablecloth. Number 1. Number 2, kelim naim, nice vessels. Number 3, piyutim bezemirot, sing on the Motzae Shabbat table. You come to my house, you see all this in action. Umadlikin nerot, and you light candles. You come to my home, you'll see probably 6-7 candles, especially lit in honor of Motzae Shabbat. And each one connects to different tzaddikim. Now, it says that according to a second opinion, he says that also the food, but this Seudah is called Melave Malka, the escorting to the queen. The escorting of the queen, it's like a dear relative comes to you to visit. When they come in the first time, you set up a nice meal, and then for the last meal, you make a Seudah or you go to a restaurant, etc. And Mabdil, that's what it is. And it says as follows. The Ritva writes that the language of the Gemara, it's a very strong language. Yani he's telling me you have no choice. Le'olam means forever. When the Gemara says le'olam, what does it mean, the word forever? That means that you have to do this concept. So it says here a couple of things. Number 1, Hamin b'Motzae Shabbat melukma. We mentioned this, I think, David, you asked about it on Sunday. It says, Hamin b'Motzae Shabbat, hot water to drink or to take a bath on Motzae Shabbat, they bring healing to the body. Bat Hama, fresh bread on Motzae Shabbat, also brings healing to the body. And the question is, why? What has to do that if Motzae Shabbat, you sit down to do Melave Malka, you drink something hot, that hot drink brings recovery to the body. What's the relationship between the Motzae Shabbat, healing, and the hot water? It's a good question. So here explain. Thank you. So it says the following. It says a few. Number 1, Hamin b'Motzae Shabbat, what type of healing the hot water brings on Motzae Shabbat? Refu'ah le'atzbut. It's healing. It's a healing for sadness and depression. Sadness and depression. Now, for those that were here on Sunday, remember what I did? Go to itorah.com, look for the class of Sunday, and scroll down the video class where I used the whiteboard to show you where is it written in the daily prayers. If you behave good, I'll do it again. So it says, why suddenly, Motzae Shabbat, I have to deal with depression and sadness? It says very simple, because sadness reactivates itself Motzae Shabbat, because Shabbat is a day of happiness. And when the Shabbat leaves, that happiness of the Shabbat leaves, and the neshama feels exhausted, feels worn out. And the Yetzer Hara of sadness says, look how he feels, look how she feels. You know what? They're a good customer to become a frequent flyer in my account called sadness. Of course. Thank you. We all know that it, okay. Thank you. It goes further. It's fine. Don't worry. It goes further. And we mentioned, remember the other day, we spoke about the Rabbeinu Zusha, the brother of Rabbeinu Elimelech. Okay? And he says what the Ora Haim HaKadosh also writes. What does he say? That the prayer in the Hallelujah, Kitov Zamera Elokenu, it says, Umhabesh le'atzebotam, and it says, Mehabesh is Rashi Tevot, Hamin b'Motzae Shabbat melukma, le'atzebotam. What deficiency is atzebotam? Atzbut. Sadness is in your daily prayers. It's in the Siddur that we recite every day. And therefore it says the following. It says that there is a certain level of excitement when the person looks forward to Motzae Shabbat on the extra food that you were not able to eat on Shabbat. Many people, I'll explain, many people have a custom, depends on the family tradition, there is nothing written about it, but some people go out Motzae Shabbat to eat. Or they eat dairy on Saturday night, on Motzae Shabbat. So, right? So that excitement of eating something different than what you ate on Shabbat, that also brings a certain level of happiness to the person. And that happiness brings down the sadness that the neshama feels by the departure of the neshama yetera of the Shabbat. It's very deep what we are saying. You may say, but Rabbi, many people are happy that Shabbat finished. I want to tell you something. Don't be happy that Shabbat finished. Shabbat finish, okay, Shabbat finish. But to run away from the Shabbat is not good, the Zohar HaKadosh says. And the Zohar HaKadosh explains the reason why not, but today is not the day. If you want to see about it, look in the Zohar in the beginning of Perashah Bereshit, discussing the three matters which are not beneficial for the person. One of them is escaping from the Shabbat, which I believe that not many people do that. Let's continue. The Gemara goes further. Hello? It sounds good to me. Next. The Gemara, let me see if there is one more footnote to add to this Motzae Shabbat element. Okay, one more. It says as follows. Everybody knows that on Shabbat, you're not allowed to cook, correct? So what happens? Many times, people run out of water on Shabbat, like it happens in our synagogue. How many water urns we put on Shabbat? 5. They all are gone by Shabbat afternoon. That's it. So you calculate how many people come throughout the Shabbat. We need to buy more. The same thing happens on taking a shower on Shabbat. You're not allowed to use hot water on Shabbat. You cannot open your shower and take a bath on Shabbat. So therefore it says, so the drinking of hot water and taking a bath with hot water, they bring healing to the body. What happens if a person doesn't feel good? What do you drink? A tea. You drink a soup. You need hot water. Or a person wasn't feeling good, takes a shower. By default, when a person takes a shower, that person feels better, feel refreshed, feels even comfortable and happy. So all these feelings, suddenly they become a positive power or level of energy that usually get activated on Motzae Shabbat. So when we put together the physical and the emotional, so to speak, that brings healing to the body. Because what does that mean that the body is healed or not? It has to do with the cells of the body, it has to do with the hormonal system of the body, and it has to do with the emotional being of the person. So when the emotions are elevated and activated, oh, I'm going to take a shower, oh, I'm going to drink something hot, oh, I'm going to have a special saudah in honor of those Motzae Shabbat, even though you may say that you don't need to do it to do that, but bottom line, the Gemara considers them to become triggers in a good way, so to speak, in our life on Motzae Shabbat to supplement the void that some people experience on Motzae Shabbat after the Shabbat finishes. For that reason, some people feel certain level of tiredness after Shabbat came to an end, because their neshama feels the difference before and after. I was in a high of holiness, of kedusha, of godliness, and now suddenly that excitement said, I'll see you next week. That's what the Gemara footnote explains, and this is sourced in Taz, Orachaim, Mishnah Berurah, other Gemarot, and a few other sources, including the Maharsha, etc. The Gemara, to supplement this, tells you a story. The Gemara likes to tell stories to illustrate. So the Gemara writes, Rabbi Abu Abdin Levapuke Shabta Igla Tilta. It says on Motzae Shabbat, they used to prepare to Rabbi Abu a baby calf that will be the third born to a certain cow, and he will eat only one part, and they will say, why do you need to do so much if you're going to eat only a small piece? So it says, because of Motzae Shabbat. It says, I'm honoring the queen, and when you honor the queen, you don't mitigate or minimize expenses. I can eat the leftover during the week, but I'm doing something special on Motzae Shabbat. Bottom line, I'm not telling you go ahead and go get the third calf of a cow and make sure that you get number 3 and not number 1 or number 7. But according to this, it says that the number 3 baby calf, the meat is very tender. I think that the goal and purpose of the Gemara was to tell us that Rabbi Abu did not take lightly the Saudah of Melave Malka. Whatever you want to eat on Melave Malka, you want to eat a piece of bread and a slice of cheese, Hazaku Baruch. You want to eat a piece of bread with some leftover dips or salads, Hazaku Baruch. You want to eat a deli sandwich for Motzae Shabbat, Hazaku Baruch. Whatever you're going to eat something in honor of Motzae Shabbat. Ideally, as we mentioned before, bread is the main component of the Saudah of Melave Malka. That will be the ideal to get all the benefits of the Saudah of Melave Malka that we mentioned in the past. Saudah of Melave Malka is considered also the Saudah of David HaMelech Alav Shalom. That's what it's called, the Saudah. Also, it brings the feeding to the loose bone of Tehiyat HaMetim, the only part of the body that does not disintegrate after the person takes a departure from the world. And the third one, the Saudah of Melave Malka, also skips certain spiritual transitional steps that the Neshama goes through between the burial and the presentation of the Neshama in front of the Kiseh HaKavod. So ideal will be bread. Second best option will be mezonot. Irek hazayit, you get to say ala mihiyah. Third option is some fruits. Those are the few options the halakha brings. Fruits could be also, maybe you eat a salad, whatever. But the idea will be, if you ask my humble opinion, do it with bread. This way you cover all yourself, all the bases. You get to say Birkat HaMazon. In the Birkat HaMazon of Melave Malka Saudah, you say Migdol. You don't say Magdil. You don't say the version of the weekday. You say the version of Shabbat, because since Melave Malka is to escort the Shabbat, so there is a connection to the Shabbat with this meal. Also, this meal is called Seudah Revi'it, the fourth meal. Now, why is it called Seudah Revi'it if it's after Shabbat? Short answer, because the Shabbat lingers even a few hours after Shabbat ended. Right, there is a connection, and there are three levels of this connection. Ideal time to eat Melave Malka will be between the end of Shabbat up to 4 hours. That will be super, super good. The next level, up to midnight. I mean midnight, the Jewish midnight. In other words, 12 o'clock at night does not constitute the midnight according to Jewish law, because the hours of the Jewish calendar are halachic hours. So today, I will say that the Jewish midnight is at around 1 a.m., not at 12 a.m., the way the rest of the world has. And in the worst case scenario, the latest will be between midnight and dawn. But the earlier you do Melave Malka, the better. And that's what we do in our home. I finished the synagogue. We have the Gemara class. Now we're going to switch it very soon to do it before the other class, because the time is changing. We go home. The first line of business is to do the prayers, as we mentioned in the past, Elokei Abraham, Ve'iten Lecha, the singing, stories of Tzaddikim, and then we proceed with the Saudah of Melave Malka, and obviously the hot drink as well. Yes, in the Sidurim, you have a short prayer connected to the Saudah of Melave Malka. It depends on the Sidur. Show me the Sidur that you use. Magen Abraham has it. Yes. Look in the Magen Abraham Sidur after Ve'iten Lecha, after Avdalah, and you should find it. It's a very short and a beautiful prayer. Other Sidurim have a longer one, but I believe that the version in the Magen Abraham is there. And check also if the Kol Yaakov has it. I'm not so sure, but definitely if you're able to say the prayer that's printed in the books, which is a very short prayer, it's like the Vihi Noam. The same way that before we begin our daily Shaharit, Minha, Arvit, we say Bihi Noam, there is a special Bihi Noam on the Saudah of Shabbat, and especially in the Saudah number 4, that we say Saudah de David Malka Meshiha, the Saudah in honor of David HaMelech. And this Saudah was established by David HaMelech as gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to David that he will leave the world on Shabbat. And David HaMelech went back and forth asking Hashem, take me before, take me after. There was no change of that, because changing the outcome of the passing, the time of the passing of David, will have a direct influence on the kingdom of Shalom. So David understood that there is no way to change it. So therefore, when David will come Motzae Shabbat, right? Motzae Shabbat, and will see that he's making Avdalah. You know, we have a tradition that when we make Avdalah and we do the Berachot Borei Peri HaGefen, what do? We look into the wine. Twice we look into the wine. One is Shabbat night. We don't smile, we just look. And on Motzae Shabbat, we smile. Why do we smile on Motzae Shabbat? Because David HaMelech knew that if he is able to see his reflection while he's making Avdalah, it meant that he was alive. Dead people cannot see their reflection. Because if God forbid they're dead, they don't see. That's the reason why you cover the mirrors when you have a minyan in the house of the Avelim for the dead. Haz v'shalom. I'm sorry to be so blunt, but you have to understand the connection. So when David HaMelech was making Avdalah and he saw his reflection on the wine, what did he meant? That he was guaranteed life throughout the entire week till Shabbat. No one has that guaranteed. No one. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what your name is. No one has guaranteed. I went through this in my own life. My father, Rabbi Shalom, the same day that he spoke to us, called us, hello, ta 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 ta. 3 hours later, 4 hours later, he left the world like this. The other day, I don't want to say the name, but somebody here, they had a great time the day before. 6 hours later, I get the phone call, please call the Chevra Kadisha. No one has that insurance with the exception of David HaMelech. So when David HaMelech saw on Motzae Shabbat that he was alive, what did David HaMelech do? Sa'udat Hoda'ah. He made a Sa'udah to express his gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he was guaranteed life for an entire week. And like this went on week after week, until it came the fateful day of Shavuot. We know the rest of the story. And David HaMelech born in Shavuot, and David HaMelech passed away in Shavuot. What I mentioned before, the candles. You asked me how many candles. I said I light 7 candles. 4 of these candles, I light them in honor of David HaMelech. The Baal Shem Tov says on Motzae Shabbat, light 4 candles of David HaMelech. I did not see the reason why 4 candles, but maybe because David HaMelech is Regel HaRevi'i B'Merkabah. In Kabbalistic terms, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has this entourage of Tzaddikim. One is called Abraham, Ishaq, Yaakov, David. Magen Abraham, Magen David. So David HaMelech is the 4th one of the heavenly chariot of Hashem. I'm using physical words because that is how it's written in the book of Yehezkel. But that's what it says. Not only that, also the Motzae Shabbat meal is the Sa'udah number 4. So he says the Baal Shem Tov on Motzae Shabbat, and this is only a suggestion. You don't have to do it. You want to do it, Hazako Baruch. You don't do it, Hazako Baruch as well. But I tell you what I do because it's a nice thing to do, and I understand the value that you light a candle, the Ilui Nishmat. David HaMelech, says the Baal Shem Tov, that David HaMelech sits with you during the time of Melave Malka. And therefore he says, pray, because David HaMelech will become your delivery agent to your prayer. Can you imagine you do something for David HaMelech? He said, when we read Tehillim, same thing. We read Tehillim, Dovev Siftei Yeshanim. The murmuring, the movement, that's the proper explanation, of the lips of those that are resting. This refers to the Tzaddikim. So a lot of the things that we do may not be halachically mandatory to do, which is fine. And some people, God forbid that they cross the halacha matter, God forbid, for some people we are happy that they follow the halacha. But some people feel if it's not written in the halacha, I don't have to do it. Don't do it. But if a person with easiness is able to do something small that enhances the mitzvah or the aspect of the mitzvah that we are doing, why not? It's a free upgrade. Big deal. It's a free upgrade. Huh? The other 3 nerot that I write, I light a candle for Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu Navi Zachur Letov. Eliyahu Navi comes to your home every Motzae Shabbat. That's why in the Avdalah we say, Eliyahu Navi, Eliyahu Tishri, Eliyahu Giladi. Eliyahu Navi collects all of our mitzvot of the Shabbat and presents to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, these are the mitzvot that the Jewish people did throughout the weekend worldwide. Do you let me inform them the Mashiach is on the way? Every Motzae Shabbat says the Eliyahu Rabbah, this is what happened. That's a reason in one of the songs of Motzae Shabbat, it says, Be'etz HaChaim Yoshev Hu Yichtov Zechuyotenu. He writes our merits. B'Motzae Shabbatenu, on Saturday night, Motzae Shabbat, Be'etz HaChaim Yoshev Hu. Eliyahu Navi sits by the tree of life, trying to convince, so to speak, Hashem, please, God, you said that I'm going to be honored to announce to the world, to the Jewish people, obviously, the Mashiach is coming. Maybe this is the week. That's the pasuk says in Malachi. Hine anochi sholeach lachem et Eliyahu Navi lifnei bo yom Hashem hagadol ve'hanora. I'm hereby going to send you Eliyahu the prophet before the awesome day of God. So every Motzae Shabbat, that's what we say, Eliyahu Navi, Eliyahu Tishri, bimera yavo elenu, ein Mashiach ben David. Listen to the Hazan when he makes the Avdalah. That's exactly what it says in all the books. So every Motzae Shabbat, because the world has the perfume of the Shabbat, plus the Torah, plus the learning, plus the Seudot, the Tefillot, the Berachot, the preparations, there is a lot of direct deposits that are being made by the entire Jewish people. More on weekends probably than any other week of the week, any other day of the week. So I light a candle also in honor of Eliyahu Navi. Also you have a candle for Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. And also I light a candle for the Baal Shem Tov. So that's my Motzae Shabbat protocol. I don't go out unless I really have to go out. I stay home because I have my protocol at home. I have a protocol at home. My reading, my singing, my meal, stories of Tzaddikim, and Baruch Hashem, I'm happy. Sure, I support my wife too. She's very happy too, believe me. She wants to go out. I say, okay. But thank God she doesn't. Baruch Hashem, so I'm good. All right. Kahal Kadosh, have a great day. Thank you again to all the families that sponsored today's special breakfast and class. Le'ilui Nishmat Halfon ben Victoria Alav Shalom. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. אמן ואמן. רבי חנניה בן הקשה אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך הרבה להם תורה מזוות שנאמר,